Hello and welcome to the third and final video of the Fluids and Electrolytes chapter for 2402 lecture. Let's talk about regulation of electrolytes. We talked about what's in the water. We talked about regulating thirst and elimination of water. Now let's talk about the solutes in that water and how we regulate those. It's very important. Here are 5 sets of hormones that can regulate sodium. And this is kind of our most important electrolyte that we control on a moment-to-moment basis. Aldosterone, we're familiar with. It causes sodium reabsorption. And when you reabsorb sodium, you also reabsorb water, which then raises or stabilizes your blood pressure. Aldosterone is concurrently stimulated by angiotensin II formation. So that renin-angiotensin mechanism that we talked about in the urinary system secondarily stimulates aldosterone release, so they kind of help each other out. This angiotensin II kind of vasoconstricts, and aldosterone lets you absorb more sodium in the water. Atrial natriuretic peptide has the opposite effect. So this is going to inhibit sodium and water reabsorption, therefore causing you to urinate and lose water, thus reducing your blood pressure. Estrogens work kind of like aldosterone, but a little bit weaker. Progesterone works kind of like ANP, but a little weaker. Glucocorticoids, again, stimulate sodium absorption. So actually, numbers 1, 3, and 5 all work to reabsorb sodium. Numbers 2 and 4 act to dump sodium. Sorry, I didn't put those together. Too late. All right, here goes a couple of more minerals that are being regulated. Potassium is an electrolyte we find mostly inside of our cells. And this, if you remember the action potential generation where sodium rushes into a cell, potassium rushes out of the cell to trigger that action potential. This is one of the main reasons why we need potassium. If you eat a lot of potassium, so you eat a lot of bananas or whatever, you're not going to store it, right? So you want enough enough potassium, but taking extra doesn't necessarily help because you're just going to pee it out. Aldosterone also has the secondary effect of eliminating potassium. So calcium. This one is regulated mostly by parathyroid hormone, as we remember. If you remember what calcitonin and parathyroid hormone did, they're antagonists, right? So one helps bone deposits, and parathyroid hormone kind of removes calcium from the bones. Now, the reason you do that is because you need it in your cells. You need it for your nervous impulses and for muscle contraction and everything else. So you need calcium as a component of your physiology, not just for bones. So when you secrete parathyroid hormone, you're going to increase osteoclast activity. If you remember what osteoclasts do, that means that they break down bone. It also increases calcium absorption from the intestines. So you're going to pass a certain amount of minerals. You're not going to absorb everything. It's not 100%. But if you're producing parathyroid hormone, you're going to increase the absorption from your food. Lastly, phosphate ions and anions, like these guys, anions are negative ones, are also regulated, but I don't want to get into it. You're welcome. Last slide, acid-base balance and regulation. So acid-base, low pH is acidic, and that means that you've got a lot of hydrogen ions. High pH is basic. It means you don't have a lot of hydrogen ions in that solution. So controlling the hydrogen ion concentration, remember this little bracket here, concentration, it can be done by 3 basic mechanisms. Chemical buffers, respiratory buffers, centers, and renal mechanisms. And here they are. Here's these 3 right here. These are the chemical buffers. I didn't put them in green. I'm going to go back and fix that. But those are the chemical buffers right there that can either alter blood pH by picking up cations or releasing them, and cations mostly we refer to here as hydrogen or picking up and releasing anions. How they exactly work, just remember that if you increase the hydrogen ion concentration in a solution, the pH goes down. If you decrease it, pH goes up. Your respiratory centers can control your rate and depth of breathing. So if you take deep and or fast breaths, you're going to dump CO2, and in dumping CO2, you're going to increase blood pH. It works opposite if you're breathing shallow or slow. And lastly, your kidneys can either keep bicarbonate or dump it. If you retain bicarbonate, it increases pH. If you dump it, it decreases pH. All right, that was a fairly short chapter. Hope it made sense.